Okay, so this is just a quick overview of the basics of Fresco to allow you to basically sketch and improve your initial ideas, your detailed ideas, or any development pages that you might have. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to paste in or you're going to load in your sketch. So all I've done there is I've tapped two fingers because I've already got a page selected and I've dropped it in. Another thing you can do is you go up to the top right here and you can, up to your settings and you can import images already, or you could copy and paste them from a file. You can drag them in. There's lots of different ways you can do it. I'm in tablet mode, and you can see on the right here we've got our layers. Now you can access these layers up here on the top right, this little section where it says layer panel, and you can move them around. It's important to note that if you hover over it, we click on it, there we go, you can duplicate the layer. And I always like to do that just so I've got a spare one, just in case I make a mistake, and I often drag that down and I usually hide it as well. So this little icon that is the eye allows you to hide that layer. This layer is now on top. Okay, so that's the top layer. We want to add things above that layer. Okay, so it could be sketches, it could be colors, it could be annotation. We never actually want to sketch on the image layer itself. So if I move that one up there, we've now got two layers that we can sketch on above the original image. First thing we're going to do is we're going to edit the shadows at the bottom. Okay, we're going to add some color to them. Really, really basic. Now, there's a few ways we can do this. Two fingers, click and drag to kind of zoom in. You could, let's go for a color. What do we like? Let's go for some sort of, I don't know, ugly orange color like this. I've currently got if I click on my pixel icon at the top here, this pixel layer, pixel brush, I've currently got, let's go for the pen tool selected, but let's go for, say, this hard, round flow thing. So when I go like that, you can see I've just sketched and that's what it gives us. Now you can very easily just sketch your shadow like so, and you'll have a very ugly shadow like that. Doesn't look that great. You could change your brush and you could go for a soft round opacity one. Okay, and that's still huge. So in terms of changing the size, where it says 175, we can reduce that down, and that gives us a little bit more control for this shadow here, like this. So that's another option. Obviously, that's looking at brush sizes as well. You could change the opacity, you could change the color, you can change the flow. There's lots of different things you can mess around with to see what sort of style you like. Another thing we could do is we could go and we could use our, over the left here, we've got this lasso, this ellipse tool, and it basically allows us, if we select the layer that we're on, we can draw over and we can basically create an ellipse that is the right sort of shape as our initial shadow. Go back into our pixel brush and you could then just very easily sketch inside that, or sketch on the outside, and you can see that it adds a perfect kind of ellipse housing everything on the inside. So using that is actually a very handy tool, the ellipse tool. So I'll do another one over here. That's a little bit more accurate. And again, let's go back and let's choose, rather than the pixel sort of layer, let's go for a watercolor type. So at the moment, this is a watercolor brush selected. If I color, you can see that it's kind of like the water spreads across like normal watercolors would. Gives some quite nice texture to your shadows if you so wish. Now I'm going to deselect those, and I'm currently sitting on this layer over here, and if I go up to the top where it has these kind of layer properties, I can then change the blend mode, and let's go for multiply, and you can see now that we can see our shadows and our sketches coming through, which is quite nice. It makes it look a little bit more realistic, just basically a little bit better because it allows you to see the sketch underneath. So that's our shadow layer there. Okay, we have another layer above it. Now let's talk and use this layer as adding some kind of block colors to our designs up here, like so. So what I'm going to do is in fact, no, let's first of all do some outlining. So all of these designs should have a pretty solid dark outline to kind of make them stand out. So I'm going to go back to my pixel brush up the top left, and I'm going to choose, let's go back to, what have we got basic wise? We probably want something like this hard round size flow. Go back to it and we're going to change the size, because at the moment that's massive and it's orange. Let's go and make it black, and let's make it much, much smaller. Say a size 5. Okay, that's a little bit better. 2 fingers just to click on there. It's still flow level. If we want maximum flow. Okay, and now you can see that that is really, really dark. And carefully, you can now start outlining our design to make it stand out a little bit more. So I can go really slowly and carefully. I'm going to do this quickly, but you would take your time, and you're going to go around the outline of your sketch. The reason for this is it's going to firstly make your sketch stand out, because as you hopefully know by now, outer line weights should be the darkest, inner line weights a little bit lighter, and there'll be some other reasons you'll see in a second. So if I quickly go over this, excuse the inaccuracy, that's all for the end there, but it will do. You can now see that that black outline makes it really stand out. Okay, so you do that for all of your sketches, and you can obviously tidy sketches up as well if you want to in this program. Now I'm going to make a new layer, and I'm going to use a selection tool up here. So on the left, where my ellipse selection tool was, I'm now going to go for, say, a magic wand, and I can click on here and select the pixel layer where I made my outline, and when I use the magic wand, it selects that full internal inside section. Okay, and I could then go and I could grab, say, my watercolor option, go back onto a different layer, and I can now start using my watercolor tool. So go for bright green, and you can see it now keeps it inside that selection. If we wanted to sketch it all the same color, that'd be absolutely fine, but we're probably not going to want to do that. So potentially, let's change this green to something a little bit nicer, because that is pretty horrible. Let's go with this blue. I'd probably want to change my selection type. So maybe instead of the magic wand, I want to use a paint selection option. So I can now deselect this, and I can start painting the selection size that I want. So maybe I want to be a little bit more accurate and just do this little base down here. And obviously you can change the size to have a lot more to control. So number 2 there, you can see that's tiny, and I've got some really good. In fact, 2 is way too small actually. Let's go up a little bit more. There we go, and we can be really accurate down the bottom here and make sure that we are kind of filling it in as we so wish around the side, up around this little section here, down there. And you would hopefully be taking your time, you're going to be zooming in, you're going to be making this really, really accurate, but you can see that quite quickly we're going to get a relatively good selection. Anyway, I'm not going to do it all, but you can kind of see now that is selected, and I can go back into, I don't know, say watercolor tool again, and I can start adding my watercolor into here. And we have now got this kind of full blue color, like so. The issue that I've done there is I have done that on my paint layer, or the pen layer with the pixel. So 2 fingers to undo it. You can see how that kind of pen on the side has blended in, like watercolor would. If we go on a normal layer and did it, there'll be no blending issues whatsoever. Okay, and maybe that would be a little bit better for what we want. You could then go back up to here and make your color a little bit darker, and you can start adding some texture around the side to kind of show that it's rounded. You could maybe go back in and have a really light part, kind of a white, change the brush size down to something quite small, and just go for a line down the middle to give a little highlight. And very, very quickly, you can start making sure that your shape actually looks really good. And obviously, the longer you take with your outlining and the selection tool, the more accurate it's going to be. You can see mine there isn't very good. To sort these lines out where we've overlapped them, we can drag our layer below the pen that we have used, and that just makes it a little bit more tidy. Okay, so that is using your selection tool. If you want to, of course, you can just freehand it. So make a new layer, and let's go on this one in the middle. Let's say choose a pixel one. Let's stick on this kind of light color. 5 is quite small, so we're going to go a little bit bigger. Maybe we change our pen to have this kind of soft round opacity again. And then we can come in here and we can start just sketching over this one like this, and it's going to give us a bit of a highlight. Okay, maybe you want to make something stand out. So instead of just highlighting the side, maybe we wanted to highlight this button, and I could go in here and I could highlight this. Okay, and obviously once you've drawn over with your black outlines, it's going to look a lot better, and it's not going to kind of flow over the sides. So that is kind of how you can add color. There are other pens you can use, so you can see this vector pen here. You might not want to use that. It basically changes the type of format that it's produced in. What you do want to be doing though is adding some annotation. Okay, so I'm going to take this black, make it full black. I'm going to make the flow 100%, and I'm going to go and choose a brush that we want to write with. So let's say this kind of hard round variable. Let's see how that looks. Okay, that's okay, but it's massive, so we're going to drop it down. It's still a little bit big, so let's go down to say a 5. And now on the new layer, I can start annotating things. So maybe over here, we want to say this section, twist. Okay, really, really simple. Just a little bit of annotation over there. Maybe here on this one with our arrow, we could say slide. Maybe this bit has got, I don't know, maybe it's aluminium, etc. Okay, and that is going to help you to produce eventually a very good looking design page. Now the shadows, I've obviously rushed this sketching on the side here. If you take your time to make it really neat with how you outline it, it will look a lot better. So just to finally show you, if we're going to take our time, let's go and make a new one over here. Let's go back to our outline, the pen which we've got right now. We can probably go a little bit smaller for the contrast of our outline to a 1. We can go around the outside here. You can see that that is actually a little bit too small, so let's bring it up to a 4. There we go, that's nice. Drag it over here. Back down the bottom, we've got this little section. Go around this outline, this. I'm going to join those two up. You wouldn't actually do that. Obviously, you would make sure that this dark is only actually on the outside, but for the sake of this, hopefully it'll make sense. I'm then going to go over and get my selection tool. I should be able to magic wand it because it should be a closed piece, which it is. I can then go back onto a new layer. I can then go over to my watercolor. Let's choose just a nice simple gray, and then I can go and get a large watercolor, probably something like that. Let's check the flow. Let's not make it 100%. Let's make it a little bit lighter. And then we can very simply just add a little bit of watercolor onto here. Like so, dark around the edges, a bit lighter on the insides. We can deselect that, and then we have got the start of our shape. So there you go. Key things to think about is making sure you have dark outlines for the very outside, making sure the initial sketch that you bring in is a good sketch so you have something good to work from, thinking about using your ellipse or rectangles for shadows underneath, and basically making sure that your annotation is nice and clear and simple. Okay, so using brushes, using different types of pens on Fresco is going to be important, and using the layers effectively as well. It will take some time to get used to. Have a go, see how you get on. Obviously, joy of this is if you make mistakes, you can just delete a layer, you can undo things, you can change things infinitely. So it is really, really helpful.